everybody. It's Dr. Cindy with the Positively Altered podcast. I am a chiropractic internist and nutritionist, and here we discuss everything health related, physical, spiritual, emotional, professional, personal, you name it. As long as it has a health spin, we talk about it on the podcast. Today is no different than any other day because we always have a health spin. My guest is going to talk a little bit about his journey in chronic pain and give some really unique perspective and tools on how we can manage through when we are really struggling, especially if we don't know when the end date is. So grab a seat, take a listen to our sponsors. We are going to be right back with today's guest.
Hello, my name is Heather Lord, and I am the COO of Professional Health Products. Cutting corners is an all too common practice in the dietary supplement industry. When my father founded Professional Health Products, he sourced the cleanest, most biologically active ingredients from around the globe. Today, that commitment remains, which is why the finest healthcare practitioners, like Dr. Cindy, have trusted us for more than 40 years. We oversee the entire process in our manufacturing facility, from sourcing and formulation to manufacturing and labeling. Today, we offer over 300 unique products that can be tailored to the nutritional and homeopathic needs of each individual. Most recently, we launched a proprietary genetic test, allowing our practitioners to get even more dialed in to their patients' health. To learn more about Professional Health Products, please talk to your practitioner or visit our website at phpltd.com.
Today, your life is going to be altered. I'm Dr. Cindy.
Welcome to Infinity. We have worked hard to create an electronic claims website that is simple and user-friendly. This is the public side. You can log into your personal web portal here. This is your dashboard. You can personalize it to your liking here. Our main focus has been to allow you to submit and edit claims as easy as possible. You will find our claims editor and claims processing is simple to use and straightforward. Our quick action bar is where you can find your most important information. Most of these icons will take you directly to the claims the number represents. You can easily view if you have any messages in your inbox of any unread alerts by looking for these blue numbers. To view the rest of our training videos to get the most of your Infinity experience, click this icon. We hope you find this web portal simple and easy to use. Thanks for letting us serve you.
I'm Dr. Cindy. Who wouldn't want to join me for the Positively Altered podcast? We are back. I am so glad that you took the commercial break and that you are here to join us with my special guest who has a last name that I think I should have as a chiropractor, Dr. Jeffrey Bone. Welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you very much for having me today.
See, it's almost like you should have been a chiropractor.
I should have been. I could have been a chiro, an ortho, you name it. Absolutely.
Right. But instead, a PhD. And what are you a PhD in, Jeff?
It's a doctorate in psychology, but right now I'm working as a chronic health coach because I like to take my, take what I do kind of across the world.
I love this. So you can psychoanalyze me and help me with any chronic pain I have on the podcast in 30 minutes or less. What do you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Not a problem at all.
I love that. All right. I really, though, before we get into some of the meat and potatoes, I really want to start with your story because everybody seems to have a little story that's the impetus as to why they move through their profession into a specialty. And I think you've got a story too.
Well, I did start from right out the gates, right out of graduate school, started treating people with chronic illness. And that was for about a decade. It was chronic illness, chronic pain, a lot of workers' compensation. And about a decade after that, about 2016 or so, I was working myself and I developed this sinusitis, and it was just this horrible sinusitis, and ended up going to an ENT. ENT prescribes prednisone, pretty common. And then my body decides to implode. All these different symptoms all over the place, and it is a complete mess. And I ended up going to the podiatrist because my feet are vibrating and I have nerve pain. To this day, I have nerve pain in my foot. I have bladder pain. My head feels like a concussion. I can't remember my kids' names. I can't sleep. I have these adrenaline surges that are kind of going down my chest. And I go to the internist. I go to the neurologist. I get the MRI. I do nerve testing. I do all the usual stuff. And they all basically think that I don't fit into the decision tree very well. So therefore I have anxiety. And turns out it wasn't anxiety. And it turns out that I ended up at a functional medicine practitioner and he diagnosed it as chronic inflammatory response syndrome. It was based on the blood work. And he said, you know what, buddy, I think you need to go check your office. And so I get an environmentalist in there and there's 2 species of neurotoxic mold in my HVAC. And that was the beginning of my problem.
Yeah, it's really interesting that a lot of times we have trouble tracing it back to the impetus, right? The original thing that makes us so sick that it lasts so long. And we worry a lot about what we call it and what drug to give. And right. And we spend so much time in that space versus you made it sound so simple. It really isn't, right? But finding that root cause and you were breathing it that made you sick.
Oh, and I covered a lot of time in my little spiel. It was years to kind of get there to the right place. And even that wasn't the end, because even after I did the usual binders, I did ozone, I did all those usual liposomal supplements. I did it all. And I didn't hold back. Anything, red light, hyperbaric, you name it, pulse electric, magnetic frequency, you name it, microcurrent, this, you name it. But I still wasn't feeling perfect. I didn't have any good days. So I said, I'm going to go to the Mayo Clinic. But before I go to the Mayo Clinic, let me look at the hospital directory nearby. Let me just see if there are any departments that I just haven't missed here because I've gone to so many different doctors. And there was one department called toxicology. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know what toxicology does. I don't know, but I feel toxic. And so I end up going there. He does not believe, it's kind of the allopathic medicine approach. Doesn't believe anything to do with the mold. He's familiar with that world, doesn't believe it. And it's like, you know what? Just give me your opinion. I'm open to everything. So, but he did take me seriously. He did listen to me and he tests my immunoglobulins, and my immunoglobulins were clinically low. Sends me to the immunologist, if I can say that correctly. She gives me a vaccine. A month later, I come back, do some blood work. My body didn't make any antibodies to that vaccine. So I end up with common variable immune deficiency. And since then, I've been infusing weekly with immunoglobulins. Thank you to all those plasma donors. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's important, right? So let's go down the path that you're trained in a little bit and talk to me about how important it is psychologically, mentally, emotionally to stay focused when you're walking the path of trying to find out exactly what's wrong. And now we're in the chronicity of pain.
It for me, is the grounding of curiosity, because the world shatters and everything that kind of held your world together, all the structures, it could be relationships, it could be job, it could be hobbies, it could be all your usual interests. A lot of those things just absolutely shatter. And with those things, you don't have those containers. Sometimes people talk about the Sunday scaries, because Sunday evening, it's like usually the week has passed by, the weekend, you've done the usual stuff. And that Sunday scary feeling that some people may feel is this unstructured time. And the time is moving forward and there's nothing to structure it. Well, what happens when your whole life becomes unstructured time? It's life scaries, basically. And so you try to kind of contain it with as many different things that you possibly can. And you reach out first and foremost to help. But secondly, the thing that I used creativity. I used my poetry. I used creating books and coloring books and a podcast. I used all those things, which were all symbols, essentially, of my curiosity to find out what's next. Because I knew And then I was going through the briar patch. The briar patch was on fire. So I had thorns and I had fire, and it was terrible, but I knew I just kind of had to keep on moving. And as Viktor Frankl wrote, kind of Man's Search for Meaning, is that we need to find our why, that we can endure almost anything as long as we have our why. And so that's what I was looking for. That's what I was curious about, what my why could ultimately be.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. It's like that purpose is a goal sometimes,
Yes.
right? To get beyond the pain. I remember when I was pregnant with my first daughter, and I was very sick. I had something called HELP syndrome and preeclampsia, and the doctors missed it. And I mean, I did not feel well, but there was that end goal, right? Of there was going to be this baby.
Yes.
I'm first one, so it was an unknown, but there was going to be this baby. So you just keep going, right? You just keep going. What happens for people though? So pregnancy, there's an end, right? Eventually you give birth. What happens though for people when you don't know where the end is emotionally? So even though we need the why, there are people that suffer for years and years and years and have to figure out how to keep going because they don't have a date that it's going to be over.
There's no finish line. Absolutely. And the brain ultimately isn't designed to make us happy. The brain ultimately is designed to survive. And so when you get this illness, the loop opens and the brain wants to close the loop. But what you're asking is like, what happens when you can't close the loop? Is then okay. So what do we have to do? We have to have that relationship with that open loop. We have to understand that that open loop is safe for it to exist. We have to acknowledge it. We have to be able to grieve it. We have to be able to set it down. And when I say set it down and I say grieve it, I don't mean it as like a speed bump. Oh, we'll just get over this grief. When it comes to chronic illness and grief, it is a boomerang. It will revisit you over and over and over again. And we set it down, but that doesn't mean it goes away. We don't just kind of quote unquote get through it. And so yes, we have to grieve it. We have to set it down so that we can be curious about those other areas of our identity, our values, our purpose, our goals, the things where we have agency. Because the problem is that the pain, the illness wants to take us to places where we have no agency and we have no control. And through that lens, we feel very helpless, hopeless, demoralized. We feel stuck, but it does us no good. We have to find the areas in life where we have the paddle, where we can actually do something to have that authorship over our own life.
I love it. You opened your answer with, I think, a quote out of my keynote about that the brain is not here to make us happy, but it's designed for survival. And of course, those aren't my words. They're obviously
not mine either. I steal like an artist.
Absolutely. But it's so true. And I guess what's difficult for me sometimes is finding the right tools, right? Like
Yes.
I know what you've said and I know the things that I'm supposed to do, but finding the tools to incorporate into your daily life when you're in those spaces sometimes are challenging. So are there some good suggestions or tools that you use in your practice that you can recommend that we can think about incorporating into our lives?
I think we need to schedule it first and foremost. I think we need to schedule both the good and the bad. I think because some people come to me and I need to get rid of these negative thoughts. I need to stop thinking so negative. I'm like, absolutely not. We use all the crayons in the crayon box. We don't get rid of anything, but we want to add to it. You can have those negative thoughts, but we need companions to that. It's disingenuous. You're gaslighting yourself. We don't want to gaslight and we don't want to lie to ourselves. So we need to structure time. I talk about structure worry all the time, where you want to set time aside to say, okay, this is my time to worry. And this, I'm not going to do anything else but worry, because whatever I'm dealing with is important. It's impacting my life in so many different ways. And sometimes people think like, it's like, no, I'm supposed to be grateful. I'm supposed to be happy. I'm like, it's like, I'm not starving. I'm not this, I'm not that. It's like, yeah, but you're also suffering. And we have to acknowledge that pain. We have to acknowledge those feelings because you won't feel authentic. If it doesn't feel real and authentic to you, you're just going to go nowhere. You'll repeat the words and blah, 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 but it doesn't do you any good. So kind of taking a step back of answering what you just said is that since the days don't come automatically structured, that you would want to structure, okay, where do you connect with other people in community? Put it in your calendar, write it down. What do you do to relax? What do you do to express and grieve and feel those feelings? Put it into the calendar. Don't just think about it, because every time you put it into a calendar, you're creating an intention. You're making a promise to yourself. I will go there and I will do these things, because otherwise it's too easy to get into the bed rot and to get into the doom scrolling. And we'll just distract ourselves rather than actually deal with life.
Okay, so I have a theory as to how long we should spend in that space.
Okay. Hit me.
What is? Well, I want to hear yours first. I'm not going to tell you mine until you tell me yours.
Oh, we just meet and you're not going to be like that. I see how it is.
Absolutely. But I will share. But I am curious, is there a certain amount of time that you feel is healthy in order to sit in those spaces that you schedule?
In terms of the negative thoughts,
Mhm.
sometimes I do two different variations. One variation, I'll say, 10 minutes, because we don't want to feed rumination. Rumination is just going to be the practice of misery. So we don't want to get overly caught up in that space. And rumination is basically being told to pee in the corner of a round room. You're going to go around and around and around, and you're not going to find relief. You're just practicing. And then that gets into kind of the two famous sayings of energy flows where attention goes, and neurons that fire together are wired together. And so we want to acknowledge it, but we don't want to make it too strong. We don't want to make it too dominant. So we can't lie to ourselves, but we don't want to strengthen it too much either.
I think that's fair. So I doubled your time. I gave myself whenever I needed to schedule, and I've given myself 20 minutes, and it actually came out of the book. Did you ever read Tuesdays with Maury?
I do remember that book.
Yeah. So I sort of stole that time frame from there, and I give myself 20 minutes if I need it or want it, to run down that path a little bit. And then I figure I have 23 hours and 40 minutes for the rest of the day to take it on in a positive light.
Absolutely. So my second variation is do it for 5 minutes, and then the alarm goes off, and then you ask yourself, do I want another 5 minutes?
Okay.
And then the alarm goes off. So it gives you a little bit more agency and control. And I say, don't go over a half hour, but at the same time, it makes, when the alarm goes off, then you're mindful of it. And then you have the agency again. I am choosing. I didn't choose this life. I didn't choose the pain. I didn't choose the illness, but I get to choose to dive into this again. So there's the agency in that. So I would meet you with that compromise with the 5 minutes at the time, modality.
No, I love that. And I think what you said is really crucially important. It's that we chose to lean into that,
Yes.
right? Versus the allowing it to control us, we control it. And therefore there can be a lot to learn from that. There can be growth and lessons that come out of that 5 to 10 minutes, or in my case, 20.
Absolutely.
And, right. And use it, as the saying goes, for good, not evil, right? Rather than wallowing in the negativity. I absolutely love that. You briefly mentioned in passing, but I want to dive in a little bit, poetry and coloring books. Talk to me about your passion for those two things and why they're so important in this space.
Because all of it started off with poetry, just writing poetry in my phone as I'm sitting there and I'm watching these volleyball games, youth sports, and all the rest. And in between all of that, it's just, I had this, and mind you, my body is on fire. I can't sleep. I'm feeling miserable. I'm depressed. I'm overwhelmed and anxious. And I don't have the words. And part of I love the quote by David Foster Wallace. How can I have all of this inside me, but to you, it's just words? And there's a certain extent where pain is unshareable. I'm in pain right now. I have chronic pain. You don't know where it is. It's like, I can give you metaphors. I can give you ideas. I can describe it, but I can't really share that pain. And so I needed that catharsis. I needed that emotional release, and poetry gave me the avenue. Throughout my entire life, I'd always been speaking in shards. It's like one person speaks, another person speaks, back and forth. It's a tennis match. And that really served because I think in shards, I think in pieces. And poetry just made sense to me because it was this shard of a thought. And then I could kind of shape it. And that's the control that I had, where I could shape it. I can make it rhyme, not rhyme. I can make it chaotic. I can make it ugly, messy, however I wanted it to be. But I started my kind of therapeutic journey of finding my own voice through just writing out poetry. That's where it all began.
Yeah, it's neat. It's fun to sit down and just see what comes out.
Absolutely.
With no judgment. Yeah, let's talk about the coloring. So one of the pieces of advice I always give to patients when we talk about stress levels and lowering cortisol and creating a calm, and I always tell patients, I want you to find something, right? I don't care what it is, something that you can spend 10 to 15 minutes a day by yourself doing alone that's not for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I always throw into my laundry list of suggestions is coloring.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting because now wherever you go, there seem to be these coloring books for adults that never existed when you and I were growing up. Why is coloring so beneficial?
Well, I remember doing it when I was in graduate school. I think during that time, Target, I believe, was selling these felt posters that you could use markers on and you could color them. And I would color until my hand hurt. I mean, these were kind of large posters, very detailed, but I loved it. I didn't keep any of them, but it was just the act of mindfulness. And really, mindfulness is just that focus on one thing to the exclusion of everything else. It just kind of shrinks your mind to say, here's a neutral, safe place to be. You're in the present moment. You're not, again, the brain's a problem solving machine. So it wants to go looking for the problems. And now you're saying, no. What color should this box be? Oh, this oval, that should be, sienna, or, and this one is aquamarine. And you're in this land of in the present, completely, pushing the rest of the world aside. And you're just quietly sitting there. And what you see in front of you is absolutely in your control. And so that's where it gets us into that kind of calm system, which is that parasympathetic system.
Are you an in the lines kind of guy, Jeff, or are you a color outside of the lines?
I'm an inside the lines kind of guy, I admit, not with my poetry. My poetry is messy and all over the place. But when it comes to that, it's kind of creating a little bit of order. But the ones that I created, some of them have these open ends where you can kind of almost flare out. So it almost gives that opportunity. If someone wants to extend it to the whole page, they can go wild with it. If they want to stay in the lines, they can, but they have the choice. And that's the emphasis. The choice is yours in the direction where you want to take it. In a life where so many things weren't your choice. I didn't choose this. This was just the card that was dealt right out of the chute. This was the card. But where are my choices? The coloring book, it doesn't cure everything. It doesn't solve everything, but it can help you suffer less. And that's what I'm always going for, because I'll tell people, okay, that's pain management over there. That's pain management. I am suffering management. I can help you suffer less. That is my job. That's our mission. That's what we're trying to do. And all the different modalities and all the rest, I would love to be able to magically heal people. I don't have the healing, touch, but I can help you suffer less.
Yeah, it's interesting. I find myself, I'm a pretty creative person. And even in my profession, there's a lot of creativity, but I find that and I'm in one of those phases as we speak, I find that when I'm feeling, I always struggle for some of the words because I never want them to be the negative words, but I would say low a little bit, right? Like I'm not finding that dopamine hit. on a daily
Yes.
basis, I find myself really leaning into some sort of art project, whether it's painting or drawing or writing, right? There always seems to be that like, and I crave it and I'll stay up late at night and I'll do it for weeks on end. And then when I feel a little more steady, it's not that it ever goes away, but I can leave it. I can
It doesn't have that
dissipate.
same urge. It doesn't have that same gravitational pull towards it.
Right. Do you think that a lot of people are missing that in the space of chronic pain, where they just don't know how to lean into those things that could potentially help with that type of suffering? Are we missing the artistic side of ourselves?
I think we absolutely are. And I can't really paint or draw very well. And I would not say, even though I published 2 books of poems, I wouldn't say that I'm a great poet. And I wouldn't, oh, everybody needs to read my poetry. It's like, no, those were for me. I wanted to publish them for me. Everything is ultimately for me, and it is born out of misery. I wasn't feeling really happy that day and, oh, I need to write poetry. Oh, I need to write this book. I need to write this chronic illness journal. I'm feeling so great. Absolutely none of those things, none of my creations come out of feeling happy and alive. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go outside. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to engage life. But when I'm feeling down, stuck, and people are living with the labels, because a lot of our identity is based on reflections that we see in other people.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times people are like funhouse mirrors. They give us distorted versions of ourselves. And along the way, it's like, we don't get the best grade in art class. No one really reinforces that, oh, you're a poet, or you're great at drawing, or that you can do wicker baskets, whatever it is. It's like, so no one kind of feeds that side of us. But again, this is just for you. It doesn't have to be shared with anybody. It doesn't have to be monetized. It doesn't have to be a side hustle. It doesn't have to be anything like that. But find a way to have this cathartic release of, I did something, I expressed something, I put myself and I transmuted these thoughts and feelings, this physical pain that I have, into something that's artistic.
You know, it's interesting. I think about a time, one of the most cathartic events I've ever had in the space of art, it was actually learning to destroy something I made. And I used to throw clay, and I used to throw the ugliest cups you've ever seen. I mean, truly, like, they were hideous. My handles were terrible. It wasn't a skill set that I was excelling at.
Yes.
And I emotionally had a really hard time because they weren't nice enough to give to anybody. Actually, they weren't even nice enough, Jeff, to donate to Goodwill. That's how bad they were.
Yes.
So they weren't nice, but yet I had this whole basement, like this shelving of ugly, ugly cups, because I also couldn't bring myself to throw away something that I created. And I remember an artist once said to me, you just break them. And I said, what do you mean just break them? And she said, just throw them on the ground and let them shatter. And I was like, how can I do that? I spent hours making ugly coffee mugs, Jeff. Like,
yes.
But there was something truly amazing, because it wasn't really about the mug, right? It was about the ability to move into that space of creativity and also recognize that maybe the suffering needs to be let go, right? And
absolutely.
There was a great relationship between saying it was okay to break something, meaning it was okay, whatever I was going through, versus like, here's an ugly mug and, happy holidays and happy birthday, with
absolutely. And adults forget how to play. We do, and we don't do that much in the form of play. You wouldn't have thought, if you were in elementary school, you wouldn't have had 2 thoughts about it. You just would have allowed yourself to go, and you wouldn't have criticized yourself throughout the entire time. The godfather of sports psychology, the inner game of tennis, is that you can't be the performer and the critic at the same time. And as adults, we've accumulated all these critics that are in our head and always wanting to criticize. And we don't want to be embarrassed. We don't want to have shame. And so that we're afraid to put our voice out there. We're afraid to create. What if no one pays attention? What if they don't like it? What if there's negative feedback? All this stuff. And then we don't play. But that clay, it was for play. It wasn't so it would end up in a museum or to be sold for thousands of dollars. It was just play. And it reminds me of one of my favorite techniques, which is called expressive writing, where you just write for 10 minutes straight and just one long continuous run-on sentence. You start with like, I don't know what to write. And you write down, I don't know what to write. It's like, this is stupid. So you write down, this is stupid. This like whatever's in your mind at that moment, keep on going, 10 minutes straight. And at the end, then you rip it all up and then you throw it away, destroy it. Because you'll be more honest with yourself knowing that's going to be destroyed. But allow yourself to have experiences and then destroy it all. And you realize it's the experience that matters.
Yeah, I absolutely love that concept. I would encourage everybody listening to just 10 minutes. And even if 10 minutes is too hard, 2 minutes, right? Just start writing.
Yes.
Just start writing. And then, tear it up, shred it, throw it in the fire pit, whatever you need to do to get rid of it. So on this journey that you went through for health yourself, Jeff, how many times did you hear the words, I don't know, or think I don't know?
I'd say a few times, every hour. It was like the ticking hand of my clock, basically.
I don't know, right?
Yes.
I don't. Yeah. So I want to lean into that a little bit because those 3 words are actually very troublesome for me in my profession. I actually dislike them very much. How do you feel about those words when somebody says, I don't know?
I would say, you know what? That is amazing that you don't know, because once you don't know, then there's an opportunity to learn. And then that's when you lean into that curiosity. It's like, I wonder what it could be like. I wonder, what that what I need or who I need in my life or what that would ultimately be. So many of the different modalities that I have come across, I use red light, I use ultrasound on myself. They all came out of curiosity. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to keep taking the medications. I have nerve pain, and there's not a lot of great nerve pain medications out there, especially the ones that aren't going to impact the whole central nervous system. And so not a lot of localized nerve pain. So I use ultrasound, I use red light, and that helps. But that was all born of I don't know. One of the most I don't know moments that I would always experience that was kind of like only someone with chronic pain knows is that going to a doctor's visit, and when you're sick and you have a new doctor visit, it's like Christmas. You're like, this is the person that's going to fix it. This is the person that's going to understand it. And time again, they aren't. And it is coming out of that office feeling so demoralized because that was the North Star. That was the thing that you were going to follow. And that was going to organize all the chaos. And then it's like you get hit with it and the compass just begins to spin and spin. And that I don't know, you can implode on it, or you can kind of like offer it as this, okay, I'm about to know. I'm about to know, I'm about to learn, I'm about to change directions. I wonder what the next thing is going to be, because you have to get your mind spinning where your mind is giving yourself opportunities. It starts with I don't know, but you can't practice I don't know, because practicing I don't know is going to be a defeat. But I wonder what's going to come next for me. You open up the opportunities.
No, that's great. How are you feeling today, Jeff? Where's your journey at?
Oh, I am feeling mid. You know what? I am imperfect, but I am imperfectly moving along. I am not going to sit here and pretend like, oh yeah, everything's perfect in my life. Everything's wonderful. And, it's like, things are still imperfect, but there are moments of beauty. There are moments of things that are kind of that are just wonderful in this life. I am much better than where I've been, and I look forward to even better days than right now. And, that is the hope. That's the enthusiasm of what could be next. I ask myself all the time, I encourage my clients, what could be wonderful today? What could be wonderful today? I'm not saying today's going to be wonderful, but we have to have that curiosity, because it's one of those things. I see 11:11 all the time All the time I see 1111. And why is that? Because I told my brain 1111 is important. And it's like, and then I reinforce it. My brain sees all the numbers, but my brain will tap me on the shoulder. Hey buddy, it's the 1111 thing. And then I kind of see it. And so we have to implant those things within our mind to say, hey, we want to, not that 1111 is that important, but we want to say, what's going to be beautiful? What's going to be wonderful? What are my wins going to be today? We want to ask those questions so that we look for it, that the brain is looking for it, because that's where we don't want to get stuck in that negative rumination, because then it's only going to confirm the worst scenarios within our mind.
No, I love that. All right. For those of us walking through any sort of chronic pain, give me 2 or 3 things we can say or do starting today.
One, you want to be able to manage the stress. And if you don't have a breathing routine down, you want to find one. The easiest one is box breathing. You can type into box breathing or even type in box breathing GIF. GIF, and it will just be a simple visualization. But you want to remember that this breathing exercise is really a heart exercise, and you're moving your diaphragm up and down to change the shape of your heart as a way of being able to get into a parasympathetic relaxed state. So this breathing exercise, not the oxygen, not the lungs, but it's a heart exercise. So if you don't have a breathing exercise, you want that. You want to have something that you're using to manage your attention every single day, whether it's the coloring books, a meditation, if you have a bonsai plant, whatever it is. You want to be managing stress. You want to have an exercise for managing attention, and you want to know what your values are associated with the meaning of your life. And one of the easiest ways is just go to Google, type in, lists of values. You can type in lists of values, ACT, acceptance commitment therapy, and it will give you a lot of them. And you can't be 100 values. Pick 2 or 3 that you think about that are important to you. I like learning. Learning is very important to me. So I make sure that I try to learn something new every single day. Family is important to me. So I try to do things that are going to reinforce the value of my family or the contribution of me within that family system. So we need to know our meaning. We need to know ways to manage the stress, and we need to know how to focus on managing and modulating our attention.
I love that. What's next on your plate, Jeff? Another book? A movie? What's coming?
I don't have enough hair for a movie. So, and I'm not Jason Statham, so I can't get away with that. So, but, a new book, it's called, The Absurd Body. And it's existentialism and living with chronic pain. That's what's next on the plate. And my favorite thing in the entire world, to be completely honest, is the next conversation with my next client. That's where I get to dive in, because everything is very kind of abstract. And I like learning. I like creating. I like doing all these different things, but to then have the opportunity of someone letting me into their world when they're stuck in their story, that is truly the best thing for me.
What a gift. All right, everybody, go grab your coloring book and your favorite color, whether it's sienna, right, or aquamarine.
Yes.
Maybe we'll find out what Jeff's favorite color is when we come right back. We're going to take a quick break and listen to our sponsors. We will be back with Jeff Bone. This is your weekly dose of Dr. Cindy, the Positively Altered podcast. Stop. Hit that follow button now and spread the love with Positively Altered. And we're back. I'm Dr. Cindy. This is the Positively Altered podcast. We are here with Jeff Bone, and we are ready for we're going to change the name to not so rapid fire questions because we keep saying they're fast, Jeff, but we don't go fast here. Ever. All right. Well, let's start with the leading question I left everybody with. What is your favorite color crayon?
Navy blue or black. That's most of my wardrobe. I'm a very exciting, men in their wardrobes. It's all dark earth tones. And so we're very simple. Everything matches.
I've always taught my boys when they were younger that if they don't know, they should follow the 2-color rule. If you're wearing more than 2 colors of clothing, you don't match.
Yes.
I always told them that was a good assumption if you didn't have help.
That works. Absolutely.
Same thing with your crayons. All right. What is one place on earth you've never been you'd love to see?
Tokyo. I've always wanted to go to Tokyo by myself with a guide, just to walk around the streets for a week, just to show me what the city is like. And it seems so different, so foreign to my Western mind. I've been through Europe. I've been to, I'm not too far from Mexico. I've been to Canada and Hawaii, but I think Tokyo would be the one where I would go because it feels so different, a very modern, different way of living.
Yeah, I've never been there myself, but it's on the list. What is your biggest guilty pleasure?
My biggest guilty pleasure? Oh, peanut butter. I love I eat a lot of peanut butter. I mean, a lot. I just had for breakfast a banana and peanut butter. And I have some food allergies and it fits within that. And I just eat a lot of peanut butter.
All right. So we usually ask people what the weirdest food combination is they ever eat. So what's the weirdest thing you've ever put peanut butter on?
The weirdest thing. Oh my. You know what? I'm too boring. And so it's kind of like the weirdest combination wouldn't be from peanut butter because it's usually peanut butter, apple, peanut butter, banana. It's kind of like, that's pretty basic, pretty boring. It's more like jalapeno and boiled egg would be kind of like, a weird combination. I went through a phase where I would just put jalapenos on just everything and just see what would work. But jalapeno and egg, that's my weird combination.
And was that your favorite that you put the jalapenos on?
It was pretty darn good. I would, if you haven't done the jalapeno and egg. Oh, you know what? I completely forget. Kimchi with shredded chicken, like a shredded chicken kind of, barbecue restaurant kind of sandwich, and kind of like a pulled pork and kimchi.
Okay.
That would be another weird combination.
Fair enough. If you could trade lives with any cartoon character, who would you become?
Probably the coyote, because no matter what bad happens, he survives.
He does that. Anvil just drops on his head and he just
he gets run over. Acme, is just destroying him, but his vertebrae seems to be aligned no matter what happens. Good resiliency there.
Right. He might be the only vertebrate on the planet that can do that.
Yes. So he keeps on ticking no matter what gets thrown at him. So, I would want to be the coyote because he represents resiliency.
I love it. 3 apps you can keep on your phone and only 3. What do you pick?
3 apps. I guess I communicate a lot on Threads and then my notes section I use kind of tremendously. And if there's and solitaire. I play a lot of solitaire. Hey, you know what? I talk about pain. I talk about all kinds of things, but I'm never going to try to pretend I'm all that interesting. Here's a guy, he eats a lot of peanut butter and likes to play solitaire a lot. It's just kind of like, I'm not the most interesting character.
No, I just didn't see that one coming with the direction you were taking. So that's where the laugh came from. So that was fun. All right. If you could create any holiday, what would we celebrate and what day of the year would you pick?
I would pick friendship, and I would pick that we would emphasize community in our community of friends as a way of And I know people have that for Thanksgiving and they call it Friendsgiving, but that it's a real emphasis on friendship and community. Ultimately, we're tribal animals, and modernity has knocked us out of our tribes and caused us to be very, very separate from one another, causing a lot of isolation. And I would pick something where it would be a dark period in terms of like the beginning of March, someplace where it's just usually cold and snowy and it's just kind of miserable. It's not like the best time, not a lot of fun holidays kind of going on, but ways to celebrate friendship when times are tough.
All right, Jeff, we're making a calendar. Give me a date in March.
Okay, March 1st.
March 1st it is. The friendship holiday. I love
There
it.
we're
We're
absolutely.
going to have a whole calendar full of new holidays with all of our guests one day. That is our hope that we're going to create. And lastly, Jeff, what was your favorite thing about doing the podcast today?
Your energy, your attitude, just who you are as a person. You come to this world as a healer and wanting to improve the lives of other people. And you can use it. I know that you do it hands-on. I know that you bring a lot to your clients who come to you when they're not feeling well and they don't know what to do. And they probably have fallen through the cracks. And they're told that, oh, surgery is not going to help and this is not going to help. And, this injection didn't help. And I tried all these different things. And you come as a healer. And then you come onto this podcast and you want to broadcast your thoughts, who you are to the world. So people that don't get to work with you hands-on can still kind of benefit from the energy that you bring and the stories that you bring to the world.
I love that. Jeff, how do people find you, follow you, work with you? Give us all the information, please.
Oh, the easiest way is drbone.live, DRBONE.live, and To the Bone. It's To the Bone on Threads is probably the easiest way to find me on Threads. That's my most active social media.
Great. Everybody check out Jeff Bone. He is a wealth of knowledge. He speaks my language of positivity, and I absolutely adore that. If you're interested in learning more about what's going on in our world, please check us out at drcindyspeaks.com. You can also sign up for our not so daily newsletter where we love to give you information, but we don't bombard you every single day. And please pick up a copy of the book, Positively Altered, Finding Happiness at the Bottom of a Chemo Bag. Jeff, this has been an absolute pleasure. I have to tell you, my favorite thing about the podcast is you validated my artistic need to color and paint and do ugly things all of the time that are just beautiful in my heart and don't need to be anywhere else. So thank you for that. I absolutely love it. I hope that today's conversation has left all of you positively altered.